In today's tutorial, we'll look at the first 7 code blocks of the sensing category, and we have actually looked few of the code blocks like touching, color or key space pressed in our previous videos, but today we'll look at them formally. So let's start with touching. Now the first thing to note here is that this touching code block is of shape hexagon, and all the code blocks which have hexagon shape, they can only return two values. It can be either true or false. So basically these hexagon shape one, this touching color 1 is touching color 2, or this key space press can only return a boolean value. Now we can use these boolean values in our if and if else code block, as well as some other condition code blocks. So let's look at this touching mouse pointer. So this touching mouse pointer basically tells us that whether our current sprite is actually touching our mouse pointer or not. And to demonstrate it, what I'll do is I'll bring the green flag clicked, and then I'll go to controls and bring if else, and then here I can use this touching mouse pointer, and let's say if my mouse pointer touches the sprite, I can print yes, otherwise I can just simply print no on the screen. So now if I run it, you'll notice that it prints no because my mouse pointer is not touching my sprite. And also you'll see that it has another option called edge, and this edge actually tells us that whether our sprite touches the edge or not. So currently if I run this code block, it will print no, but if I make my sprite a little back and make sure it touches the edge, and now when I run the code block, you can see that it prints yes. And actually we do have another option, but for that we need to bring another sprite. So let's go and choose apple here, and now if I go back to our code block, you can see that we have three options. We have apple as well, and this apple is actually the name of our sprite. So this touching code blocks also tells us whether our sprite 1 is touching sprite 2. So if I want to test it, I'll first run it, and you can see that it prints no because my sprite 1 is not touching apple. But let's say I bring my sprite 1 close and sprite 2 close as well, and now if I run it, you can see it prints yes because both of these sprites are touching each other. Now let's look at our next code block, which is touching color. Now this code block basically tells us that whether our sprite is touching this color or not. And to demonstrate it, what I'll do is I'll just delete my previous code and bring this touching color, and if I run this code block, you'll see that it prints no because this color is actually not even on our screen. So let's say if I want to print yes, what I can do is I can click this color here, and then I have option to set colors. But let's say if I want to exactly select this brown color, so what I can do is I can click this icon here, and you will see that I can bring this pointer to any color and then click, and once I click, you can see that that color is automatically selected. And now if I run this code block, you can see that it prints yes because my sprite touches this brown color. And now let's look at our next code block, which is color 1 is touching color 2. Now this is also quite similar to the previous one. What this does, it tells that the color 1 here is actually the color of our sprite, and the second color is basically whether color 1 is touching the second color. Now here you will notice that neither color 1 or color 2 is on our screen, so when I run it, it would print no. But let's say this color 1 is my sprite color, so I can again click this icon and select my sprite color, this orange, and then my color 2 could be the ground color. And now if I run this, you will see that it prints yes because my sprite color orange is definitely touching this ground. Now if I look at our next code block, which is distance to mouse pointer. Now this is a code block which actually tells us a distance between my sprite and my mouse pointer in this case. So if I run this, you can see that it prints a value 207.7, and let's say if my mouse pointer is near, and then it would print a less value because the distance between my mouse pointer and my sprite would be less. But rather than selecting mouse pointer, I can also calculate the distance between two sprites. So let's say I currently run this code, and you can see that the distance between sprite 1 and apple is 102.5. But let's say if I move my apple far, and now if I run it, you can see that the distance has increased to 302.5. So this distance 2 tells us the distance between either my mouse pointer or another sprite. Now if I look at my next code block, which is ask and wait. So this is a code block which can ask a user a question and then it waits for an answer. So to demonstrate it, what I can do is I can just get this green flag clicked and I can ask a question: what is 5 plus 5? And I'll delete my apple here, and what I can do is I can just move this cat a bit up, and now if I run it, you can see that this cat is asking me a question: what is 5 plus 5? And here we have a text box, and we can actually type in this text box any value. So when I type an answer here, let's say 10, and when I tick this button, when I click this button, my answer would actually then be stored in this answer code block. So whenever we type something in the text box, that thing would be stored in this code block answer. So let's make a simple scenario here. What we'll do is we'll make sure that our cat asks us a question: what is 5 plus 5? And then once the user gives the correct answer, we could then print correct answer. But let's say if it writes an incorrect answer, we could say wrong answer, and then we can say the right answer is 10. So to do that, what I can do is I can keep my if and else code block, and because I want to check what my answer is, so I'll go to my operators and I'll bring this equal to operator. And here in the first parameter I can put my answer, and because we know that 5 plus 5 is 10, so I will write 10 here. And now if my answer is correct, I'll write correct answer. But if my answer is wrong, I'll write wrong answer, and I'll write answer is 10, and I'll make the spelling correct here. So it's now wrong answer, answer is 10. So now let's run this code. So you can see that my cat is asking what is 5 plus 5, and now if I write 10 and then click this button, you can see that it prints correct answer. But let's say if I run it again and write 9 here, and now if I click this button, you can see it says wrong answer, answer is 10. So here you can see that this ask will ask us a question and wait, and whatever we will write in the text box will be stored in this answer code block. Now let's look at our final code block for this video, which is key pressed. Now this key pressed actually tells us when a user presses a key on our keyboard, and you can see that we have many options. We have space, up arrow, down arrow, we have any, we have A, B, C, D up till Z, and we also have numbers. So this code blocks actually tells us when a user have pressed a key. And to demonstrate it, what I'll do is I'll remove my previous code blocks and I'll use my if else condition, and I will put this key space pressed in my if clause. And now let's say if the space key is pressed, I'll write space key pressed, and let's say if it's not pressed, I'll write space key not pressed. So now if I run this, notice that currently it says space key not pressed because I haven't actually pressed my space key on the keyboard. But now I'm holding my space key, and now if I click this, you can see that it says space key pressed. So this key pressed will actually tell us whether a user have pressed any key that we have selected here or not. So that was it for today's tutorial. If you have any question or you didn't understood anything, you can comment below and I'll try to answer it as soon as possible. And if you like the channel, do subscribe to it. Thank you.